Welcome to the Gaming Gaiden Patreon, everybody. We're glad to have you with us. What we call in my other podcast, Behind the Paywall. So it's just us, as we have talked about before on the free version of the show. And today's topic, we wanted to talk about the ESRB ratings. They weren't around until probably, Mortal Kombat times?
Yeah, so it was something that came up around those early 90s. I think it was Senator Joseph Lieberman who brought it forth to Congress to say, like, these things aren't appropriate. It was, I think it was actually Night Trap on the Sega CD that triggered it. And in all honesty, perfectly fair. The content of Night Trap was rough. It was gruesome. It was not for a young audience, and they didn't really have any way at the time to distinguish, what's appropriate for what age group. So it's surprising that it even got that far along without recognition of the fact that there are differences.
Right.
So the thing is, we got out of this a rating system. And that really is what made it possible for things like Mortal Kombat to work. It's to say, like, hey, we're letting you know. You shouldn't be giving this to a young kid. And if you do, it's
what are
your
you doing?
Decision.
Your decision. Mortal Kombat was the first and only game I remember my parents really caring about us playing so much. Yeah. We loved Mortal Kombat. I had two younger brothers, and it was big in our house. And they never really said, "Hey, don't play it at all." They didn't take it away entirely, but I remember they did say we had to do like only an hour a day for Mortal Kombat. Then you have to put in another game or something, even on the weekends maybe. But my parents were so lax, man, at times that they just I don't even remember that lasting too long. But there was one time when my brother and I were fighting on the way to church or something, and I maybe put my brother into a headlock or something. Again, I'm like 10, my brother's 8. We're roughhousing. It's in the car. It was not safe for sure, but we were kids, and my mom was mostly like reasonable and had her shit together like most of 99.9% of the times. But looking back, she had some moments where it felt like I don't know, like her emotions just really got the best of her. She thought that I was trying to rip my brother's head off. Like, it felt like literally. Like, maybe something had crept in my mind subconsciously, but I don't. I remember I just had my hand over his head, maybe in a headlock. I was the older brother. Yeah. I was shitty at times because, again, I was 10. So anyway, we're talking about ESRB.
Well, no, I think
so. There's the memory, Mortal Kombat memories.
The ESRB exists because of this kind of situation,
yeah.
right? The parental concern, and like I think that in some ways, the media at the time was to blame. It's the sensationalist media stuff is not anything new. It was going pretty strong there. They knew that if they showed a single 2-second clip of some uppercut with blood splatter or whatever for Mortal Kombat, they were going to get views. And that's the path to revenue for the news media at the time. So if they're peddling fear, to your parents, your mom, develops this genuine concern that like she's allowing you to play this game and she's worried about it the whole time. And then you show signs of violence and it's like, okay, we know that for thousands upon thousands of years, older brothers have been shitty to younger brothers, right? Have put them in headlocks.
100%.
But she's approaching it from this particular perspective of like, I'm so worried about the fact that I've allowed my children to play this game and I don't know how it's affecting them. And now I'm going to start attributing very common basic stuff to it.
So. And that's what happened with us. But even then, probably our hour-long thing lasted 2 weeks, and then we were playing the game as much as we wanted again. Maybe because my parents was just like, we just play games, and my parents would just go do other shit, just work or something. Like, we weren't latchkey kids. My parents would be in the house, but they weren't. Like, for example, my brother watches cartoons with his kid. They go to movies together. Well, my dad went to movies with us too, my mom too. But like, he plays games with his kid. Like my parents almost know watching like TV. Sometimes movies together. Well, we watch movies together pretty often, but like TV shows and video games, absolutely like off the table. My parents were not interested in it. So, but anyway, it was new territory, especially with Mortal Kombat, because my brother and I were not into horror. We went to church every Sunday also. So that was a thing.
Yeah, who knows if they were getting it from some of the other churchgoers too,
Maybe. Plus, like, we were drawing Mortal Kombat characters in church. I was probably drawing a fatality. I might have drawn. I don't know for 100%, but it's pretty possible I drew the Sub-Zero head rip fatality in Sunday school. Like, in Sunday school. They probably thought I was a serial killer. I just thought Mortal Kombat was the coolest thing in the world. But yeah, I mean, it was probably a good idea that they added M to it. They had like this early version too, which was a little bit slightly different, right?
Yeah, it was different at that time. It was more basic. It wasn't as robust or as clear as it is now. But even now, it's not necessarily clear.
It was like K or something for kids, but now it's E for everyone.
I think it was K to A or something like that was the original one. If it was all ages.
Kids to adults, and then MA, mature audience. And now they just changed it to E and M, which is a good move.
Yeah, I mean, you had the template to follow there from the movie theaters all these years, so there was no reason not to. To be honest, I'm still kind of surprised nobody does this for books. Because I remember as a kid when I was in school, and they would send us to the library, and I'd come back with something, and sometimes it'd be like, yo. Hand the book over to my friend, be like, check this page out, man. And it would be like some sex scene in like a spy thriller. And I'd be like, yo, did the teacher let you read that? And I was like, yeah, I don't know if she knows this book. But like, what are you going to do? It was in the school library,
Oh, dude.
Like, this is
going to get slightly off topic.
The Bible is rated X.
Oh my
for
God!
Violence.
Yeah, there's a whole passage about like a guy having genitals as big as a horse or something. There's literally a big dick passage in the Bible. I'm not kidding.
I could tell you the day that I was in. So I went to a religious school, but it wasn't very religious. It was Quaker. So they're like,
I did not know this actually, dude.
They're I guess it never came up, but yeah, they're kind of like the chillest of the Christianity branches. Very peaceful. I met a guy in Japan once who was there from the Vietnam War because he was a Quaker conscientious objector, and they were like, "You're going to jail if you won't fight," and he was like, "Never going back to America," and that was that.
Wow. So
I was in a Bible class for just one term. The years were put into trimesters,
right?
And I remember reading Deuteronomy, and there were like these rules about if your army sacks a village or whatever, and you see among the women and children surviving a woman that you find attractive, you may take her home, but you have to like shave her head and have her mourn for 6 months. And then the English translation from Aramaic, I guess, was like, you may go into her.
Oh my God.
And that was, for me, that was like the moment of like, whoa,
these morals are a little different.
Guys, I don't know how much we should trust this book. I don't know about this. I'm not cool with this. But yeah, it's some pretty heavy stuff. I was reading the Bible really for the first time because I wasn't raised Christian or anything.
Were your parents?
I wasn't raised
not
with
religious?
a religion.
Were your parents not religious?
My grandparents were, nah, not really. Like they all were Catholic, but what does Catholic mean? I could tell you. It's like you have a communion or confirmation, you get a bunch of money as a kid, and then you spend your life feeling guilty about all that stuff. So,
Everything.
sorry if I offend anybody's religious sensibilities, but that was my understanding from my other family members who were Catholic, were baptized, were confirmed and all that. And I chose not to ever do that for myself.
I mean, in my other podcast, I have a whole two-parter episode where I go into my religious background kind of before we started the whole Batman talk. There was, man, well, we'll get back on topic in a second, but there was this, there was this time where the podcast was sort of breaking down, where my co-hosts at the time were all kind of leaving. We're getting busy. It had been going on for like 2 years or something, and it was just me. So I did like 3 or 4 episodes that are just me. And, well, one actually I brought a guest in from somewhere else, but it went over one goes into like my religious background and stuff like that. I mean, I became an atheist in Japan, Mike. I was going through it like pretty hard in college, like kind of agnostic. And then I became pretty much atheist in Japan. Probably Japan had something to do with it being really taken outside of your normal environment. But I think I was already kind of headed there anyway. So yeah. Anyway, adults only games. The AO rating, there's not very many of them. The first one I ever remember seeing was the PC game Phantasmagoria. I
did not remember that having an adults only rating.
I think it did because that really. I remember seeing the box. My parents would never bought it. I think that game
deserved an adults only rating. I think it definitely deserved it. I don't know if it did get it. I didn't remember that.
That's lodged in my memory because I remember seeing it at Software, etc. And again, I would look at all the games, but I was mainly going to get console games. My brother went through like a really big like Half-Life phase and shit like that, but. And that was at a time where PC was truly like a mile ahead of console anyway.
Yeah.
So I can see why he got into it, but I was just, I don't know. I wasn't super into it at the time, even though it was so much better graphically.
Yeah.
But yeah, adults only.
Thing,
so
right?
do you want more adults only games? Do you want more like porn games?
No.
Okay.
It's not that I want more adults only games. What I feel is that we are not using the rating appropriately. And I think that this is a problem of money. So I do think that, say, something like Grand Theft Auto should be rated adults only. It's simple.
Because they have sex and shit?
So, no, it's not the sex. It's the violence.
The violence, yeah. That's how I think too, yeah.
It's not really a big deal. Like, if the sex is consensual, I'm not really going to object to it. That's fine for a mature audience to see. If the sex is forced, if it's rape, if it's abuse, whatever, that's different. Okay. But with Grand Theft Auto, the content is clearly for adults only. So the only reason that it gets a mature rating, from what I can really understand of what I've seen in the past with this, is that it's considered a financial death sentence to get an adults only rating.
Oh, definitely. It's like NC-17 for movies.
Because they can't carry it in Walmart or something. And be like, you know what? Nirvana sold plenty of copies of In Utero, even though the Walmart said they weren't going to carry it because it pictured like the human anatomy on the cover. Of course, it was like an anatomical diagram kind of thing.
Oh, right.
Whatever.
That's ridiculous. They probably sold medical books as well.
Yeah, right?
In Walmart.
We have all these games that get an M rating when really you look at the content and you'd say like, well, I don't know that anyone should really say, yeah, sure, my kid should play this. And so what I think is that we're not using the adults only rating appropriately, and that we should not be afraid to use it, and that we should not be afraid of how it affects sales, because I don't think it'll really affect sales too negatively. Because I think that there's a lot of failure to recognize that there are plenty of adults playing and buying games.
Most games are bought by adults.
Right.
Really,
so like the market has shifted so much. When are these people going to catch up with it? and recognize that. And also, did you play by any chance what was that, Metal Gear? I think it was just called Metal Gear Ground Zeroes. It was like a short kind of demo before 5.
I think I did play that.
All right.
Yeah.
So that got an M rating, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. No, you could just take a glance at the content and be like, yeah, whatever. That's fine, an M rating. But if you actually go into that game and you mess around with it, you'll find that there are audio recordings for you to listen to. You pick up like little cassette tapes or something like that. And there's recordings of the character Paz. If you played Peace Walker, she was in that. And this other character, a young boy, I don't remember his name. And it's like the villain of the story is forcing the young boy to rape the girl. And both of them are children. They're both under 18.
Oh, this is like a wartime kind of thing.
Yeah. And so like, and you hear this. Right. And you hear the talking back and forth. And it's just like, this should not be accessible to anyone under the age of,
right.
I think, I don't think it should be accessible to most adults. Fuck this noise. Get out of here, Kojima. What are you doing?
I didn't listen to a lot of the tapes, dude. I did not know that was in there.
Right. So like, what are they doing? So if the ESRB is mostly approaching things, as sort of a voluntary thing, like the companies have to, or the companies are volunteering information to us rather than them actually evaluating the material, then we're always going to get this weird broken system that's really just for show.
Oh, it 100% is, because, I mean, the MPAA for movies, too, this is not from the government. These are not government entities. It's not actually illegal to release anything like this without a rating. It's a self-regulating thing, just like the ESRB is. Like, so there's a lot of leeway, I guess, without, since I guess it's not illegal to do. You could probably legally put an M rating on a K game or a K game, K on M if you wanted. I mean, it would cause outrage, but like it wouldn't get the companies in jail or anything.
Right.
So,
but it's with a movie though, I would say like it's pretty quick and easy for most people to say, well, we'll view it. We'll actually watch it. It'll take 2 hours. But with a video game, you might not find all the content that's there. Yeah. Like you need people who are saying like, this is all of the content. There's, like if we're going to look at Elder Scrolls, it's like, no, you need to read all of these books that establish the lore to evaluate the content.
That would be a lot for some people though, man. But I guess.
Right. But that's why, if we have this constant fear of giving the adults only rating, then nobody's ever going to assign themselves an AO rating.
That's true.
Because they're going to be like, oh, if I get this AO rating, I can't sell my game anywhere, even though we have robust digital marketplaces and it's mostly adults buying games now.
Would you give Mortal Kombat an AO?
I feel like the newer ones, I would probably give an AO.
Yeah, because it's
the older ones. Like I still felt like they were kind of goofy and cartoony.
Yeah,
but the newer ones feel pretty brutal and sadistic.
They do. I feel
a little more so. I don't know.
I also
weird. I'm not a teenager in the 90s anymore, so it's hard to say.
I feel weird a little bit with like just how much they amped up the fatality. Like it is like quite a lot. Plus, like the good characters like Liu Kang and Sonya Blade and all of them, like they also like do a fatality. You know what I mean? Like they're supposed to be the good guys, but I think it's just horror schlock though. It's the thing is, I think they should keep friendships in there. They should keep like a definite comedy element so we know this is horror comedy. This is Ash versus the Evil Dead. So, I mean, yeah, maybe it deserves an AO. So you're thinking that AO is more like a rated R and not an NC-17.
No. I'm thinking NC-17 is fine. I'm saying AO is fine. Like Don't let kids see it. Don't let anyone 17 or under or whatever see it. But don't think that that is going to kill your business. It's fine. There's going to be enough people still buying it, and we should also stay beholden to that. Like Grand Theft Auto 5, I stopped playing it at the torture sequence when I had no option to do anything else but to torture the guy. And I was like,
Go ahead.
How is this not AO?
Dude,
if you're forcing someone to torture another.
I get the appeal to Grand Theft Auto, but it's just never been my thing. I don't care about being a gangster in LA or whatever. It's just not. That's not the kind of virtual video game fantasy I want. Has nothing to do with the rating. But yeah, I agree. Because you participate in the action. It's not like seeing Saw with torture. You're just watching it. You're passive. Yeah. But like to make a player actually torture someone in the game, it's a different moral question. And again, and that's like not horror schlock. I don't know. It's just like with Mortal Kombat, it's just so outlandish. It kind of almost doesn't matter at a certain point. But with Grand Theft Auto, there's some air of realism maybe. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it's so Grand Theft Auto. I dropped off with that series. I never got too into it. I played the third one and I was like, yeah, it's okay. I had played the first one because there was a lot of, media about it at the time being like, oh, this game. And I was like, oh, well, I got to check that out. Basically the news commercials telling you how horrible it was. They were a free commercial for the game. So I checked it out.
That was like a top-down view, right?
Yeah. PS1? And it sucked. Oh, it was straight trash in my opinion. There were plenty of people I knew who liked it, and I was like, yo, this is bad. I can't even play this.
In the PS1 days, I was reading EGM, and that first GTA went... Maybe I saw a review for it, but it was not really on my radar at all. Like even the first one, it just didn't catch my eye. If it was a late release PS1 game too, maybe I was. I mean, full disclosure, I never had a PS2. I skipped that entire generation.
That was a big one.
I know. I have almost no nostalgia for PS2, believe it or not, or GameCube.
Yeah.
Because, and I say this in one of the lost episodes of the other podcast I was talking about, but there was a time where I was really getting into skateboarding for one, and I felt like I wasn't trying to be too cool, but I was just like, well, I really love skateboarding, and maybe I should take a break from games for a bit. Plus, there was one time where I made my mom cry because Sonic Adventure didn't come in on time for Dreamcast for my birthday, because we were importing it from fucking Japan. It was the other fucking thing, and from NCSX, National Console Support. So I think maybe even on Christmas Day I made her cry. So like after that, like Dreamcast was kind of my last system for a bit. Plus Dreamcast died, and I loved the Dreamcast, and then that died off. So I was just like, and I was also ramping up to go into college probably. Well, I don't know. Yeah, something happened around 99, 2000. And then, from 2000 to 2000, God, I didn't have a system again until PS...
So the 360 was November 2005.
Yeah,
that it first came out.
I got that in Japan.
So that would have been 2006 sometime. Is that right?
Yeah, so I had like a good 6 years of my life with not a whole lot of games. I played Shadow of the Colossus in my friend's room. We were roommates on PS2, and my only other PS2 memory mainly was a big one. We go to Japan. It's 2004. We go to Tim Rogers' place in Tokyo. I'm 20 years old. I think these guys are the coolest motherfuckers on the planet. Like, they're doing like Japanese video game shit, living in Tokyo. They're all like foreigners, so I can relate to them, I guess. They're all studying and learning Japanese. And then it's almost like a Back to the Future, like your kid's going to love this.
Side note here, just for the audience to recognize the term foreigners.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? That's from the perspective of being in Japan.
Yeah, yeah. We're all white dudes. I think one guy was half...
Kind of adopting that perspective in a weird way, but for those who don't live in Japan, foreigners, it's like, what? Wait, what do you mean?
Yeah. Well, we were the foreigner.
No.
We were foreigners. Anyway, so Tim Rogers slaps down. He says, "Hey, try this. It's Katamari Damacy," and had never seen anything like that before. Like, it's such a weird game, and like, it hadn't come out in America yet, and it was like, wow, this is the scoop. This is so cool. And then they showed us Otaki, the Famicom Disk System game that was like one of the first music games ever. So it was like Weird Game Central, and I loved it. I mean, man, what a great time. What a great time. I'm so glad I was able to go to Japan, man. Like, what a fucking life changer. My God.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to adults only games, I would love to own the first AO Mortal Kombat game. You know? I mean, why not?
Yeah. And I mean, like, this is what I'm saying though about the adults only rating. Like, I just feel like there's so much of it that's a farce when, like, it could just be an appropriate rating. And if people want games with sexual content, why is that a problem? Like, that's fine.
Dating sims already have a lot of that, I think.
You know, it's fine, but they could also have more graphic sex games. What do I care? As long as the sex being depicted is, you know, between consensual adults, what's the issue? You know, give adults the programming they want, whatever it may be, and that's fine. Don't be afraid to use the whole spectrum, right?
Yeah.
It's like that review score argument. Like, there are 10 points on the scale. Don't be afraid to use all of them.
Right.
You know, it's not like boxing.
Let's check out what AO games are there. I'm going to just look up real quick while I'm talking.
This is why I really need a nice USB hub, because I can't access my keyboard easily to check on these things.
Yeah, I forget you can't do that. List of AO rated games on Wikipedia. Here we go. So, there's probably a bunch at this point. Wow, The Joy of Sex on CDI. That was probably barely a game. That was probably mostly FMV. Yeah. Crystal Fantasy on Mac and Windows. Cyber Photographer. Wow, dude, we could do a whole episode on this kind of shit. Rihanna Rouge. Wow. This is like...
Is that
oh my
current?
God. No, this is 97.
Oh, okay.
The game stars Playboy Playmate Jillian Bonner as Rihanna, a shy secretary who spies on her boss attempting to rape a coworker.
Okay, well, that's an issue.
Her boss... Okay, she's spying to prevent a rape, maybe, so... Anyway, we don't have to go into all that, but that's crazy. Cost $1 million to produce. That's crazy. It's a Konami game?
Okay, I brought it up on the screen here. Are you looking on the Wikipedia list?
This is Konami of America. Wow.
Konami of America?
They must have had some sort of division maybe in the 90s. All Nude Nikki. There's a bunch. We're going into 2000s now. Wow, there hasn't been much since 2015 apparently, because it's... In 2015, there's a few, and then they're like none. Oh, 2018. Okay, wait. Agony has an AO, huh?
I don't know Agony.
Okay, wait. It says the game was originally given an AO rating, but was edited in order to meet the M rating. The game's developer, Mad Mind Studio, intended to release a patch for the PC version to restore the cut content, but it was blocked by legal reasons. Okay, I mean, maybe there's some legal stuff going on there. Wow. Okay. The game was reissued on Steam as a self-published Agony Unrated in October 2018. And, yeah, Agony is, it's like you're in hell or something. It's dark, very dark fantasy, very dark. Okay. So I'm not surprised by that. Outlast 2
okay. I've never actually seen the game. I've only seen it like show up in the game lists on like Xbox Marketplace or something, and because I recognize the banner or whatever they have.
Okay. The Punisher got an AO originally as well in 2004 for PlayStation 2. But they changed the cutscenes to black and white to reduce visual impact, it says. Oh, dude, this is a big one. Oh, here he is. I'm marking time code. All right. Well, we'll finish that up later. Oh, he's out. All right, well, let's finish this up real quick. Real quick. I marked the time code. We're good. So, Thrill Kill. Dude, I was working at a company that's that's defunct now, and one of the programmers at this company was like, "Do you remember a game called Thrill Kill?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Yeah, I worked on that." I was like, "Damn, what a crazy deep cut right now."
I'm pretty sure it ended up becoming that Wu-Tang fighting game.
It did, yeah.
And Grand Theft Auto, the hot coffee mod, so to speak. They were going to go retroactively give it the AO, and they had to like go through all sorts of trouble to get it back to M.
The first one?
It was San Andreas. It was an M-rated game, and then they found out that through like Game Genie or something, you could unlock the sex minigame. And they were like, "Oh, well, there's sex in this game, so you got to make it AO." And it's like, dude, it already should have been AO.
That's the thing. I believe people like us, our generation, and people younger than us are getting wise to this. But the whole, sex over violence, sex is better than violence kind of thing. Like, why go crazy over a nipple? You already had a head being ripped off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's it really for me when it comes to AO. It's like, don't be afraid to use it. Like, go ahead, put your content out there. Let it be rated MO. Self-regulate it. Call it AO. Be honest about it. There is an audience out there. And if there's not, then maybe you don't make that kind of content in the future. But I don't think that we should be so afraid to use the whole spectrum of the ESRB's rating system.
Right. I agree, man. I think that was a great episode for our Patreon. And thank you guys for joining, and we will catch you later.